Well, hello, I'm Andy Hawkins. I was not born by cesarean.
Sure.
That's what they tell me. My parents are Gary and Marge Hawkins. I know a lot of you know them. My mom worked for District 742 and retired last year, almost 2 years now. And my dad had a lawn care service and was involved in a couple other business ventures. They moved here in 1966 from Paris, Illinois. If anyone knows where that is, it's right next to Terre Haute, Indiana. And they were met in high school when my dad was in 9th grade. Dated for 9 years, and so he gets a lot of flack about that. My mom grew up on a farm in the heart of Illinois, and her mantra, which she learned from her dad, was we work hard, and if it still doesn't work out, we work even harder. So those of you who know her and what she's involved with, that's where she learned it. My dad, on the other hand, grew up in a large Italian family. And I remember sitting around the table when we go home at Christmas, and we usually went in the summer as well, and had the big Italian meals, long for kids. But I would give anything to go back and see that again. Everyone around that table is now gone, with the exception of my parents. After graduating from Indiana State in 1966, they set off for this northern town called St. Cloud, Minnesota. My dad started as a professor at St. Cloud State. And my mom started as a home ec teacher for District 742. We found a letter when my grandparents passed away from my mom. They'd been here for 2 months, and the letter said, "You know, we're not at the end of the earth, but you can definitely see it from here." So far away from Illinois farm. So they arrived with a cot, their clothes, and a chance to start their lives. After they we still laugh about this one story my dad likes to tell, and that was one of his neighbors in the apartment building they were in said, "Make sure you tie a little ribbon around your radio antenna on your car, because when you approach intersections in the winter, cars want to see you coming from the other directions." They were horrified. In 1970, I was born. Last year I turned 40. My first meeting I was going to give a happy buck because I turned 40, I think it was the day before. And Dave Hawkins stood up in front of me and put up a happy buck for being 39 because he was so horrified that he was turning 40 the next year. I didn't bring out my happy buck. I wasn't happy. I'm a North Side kid. I grew up close to the hospital on the 1300 block of 8th Avenue. It was the greatest thing in the world. Those people are still my parents' best friends. A lot of names you know started on 8th Avenue. Stan Weinberger, Bob White, the Browns, Tinases. There's a lot of community names people that have been active for a long time. They still travel together, and it's fun to watch. When each one of the 32 kids that grew up on that block got married, they hosted a shower. We called it the 8th Avenue group, and it was pretty neat. We lived there pretty much all of the 70s, and then my parents just moved one block away. That was about as much as they could handle. But definitely the most influential time in my life, especially as a young person. One story I didn't write down, but I thought of as he was talking, we all had big wheels when we were kids. And our favorite activity, we had 7 of us, all boys, and we would ride single file down the sidewalk on 8th Avenue until we saw an old person. Then we'd all fan out. It was awesome. Really fun. I went to school at Wilson Elementary, which is no longer a public school. We walked both ways. Something I would think of doing now with our kids. My mom's instruction was just make sure you're home for dinner. From there, we went to Madison from 4th grade on. And the year that I graduated, after I finished 6th grade, they combined Apollo High School with North, all at Apollo. So we're grades 7 through 12. So that was fun. It was the 80s, so big hair. It was fun. My passion at the time, no one ever can guess this. There's one person in the room who might know this. But if you had to pick the sport that I excelled in, does anyone have a guess what it would be? Wrestling, I hear it all the time. Tennis. I played tennis. I took third in state my junior year. I played for Apollo, and we were the only team ever to beat Tech. So that's our one claim to fame. So anyway, that was 1988. And after, and I should say, this is one of my best parts, Doug Adamak's in the room. His daughter was in my class, and after we won, we had the best house party ever. Guess whose house it was at? He wasn't there. Don't know if you knew that. Tell Jenny I said hello. I graduated from high school, thank God, and through a neighborhood connection, one of these neighbors, he landed us a job at Frigidaire. I think there was divine intervention there. It was a summer job. They threw us in a room with double doors, and the door opened up with a guy on a three-wheel bike. He said, "Follow me," in a deep voice, and we just ran after this guy. He pointed to different departments, dropped us off, and my job was bending doors, freezer doors, for the summer. My mentor, One-Eyed Willie, that was his name. I was now motivated to start freshman year at St. John's. My dad still smiles every time. And tried to figure out what I wanted to do. I settled in on management and communications, and my first job was at 22. It started in this room. Larry Logeman was the general manager at the time of the Radisson. And he, you know how Larry can sell, he convinced me that this was the career of the future. I was the director of sales for the Radisson. Another person I crossed paths with, by the way, that didn't last long, Diane Marcotte. And I don't know if Diane's here today, I didn't see her earlier. But I landed a job as the admissions recruiter at the St. Cloud Technical College. I was there for 4 years, and started as a recruiter, and I ended as the director of student affairs. It was a great experience. Diane is probably the most motivated person I've ever met, and I learned a ton from her, so I was hoping she was going to be here today. She also, by chance, worked with my dad. She started her career at where he ended up, Midwest Vision Centers. I knew that I wanted to own my own business, and that opportunity came in 1996. My sister was, I have two sisters, Angie is 2 years younger, was engaged to her husband, Jason Kleinfelter. His brother was killed, many of you probably remember Brian Kleinfelter out in St. Joseph. Through that, they started a business, and that business is called Keepers. It's a law enforcement supply company. I had experience in sales, and they said, we need a sales director, somebody that can help us grow, and that was my job. So I helped them grow to become one of the fastest growing uniform companies in the country. And through that relationship, and by the way, that was probably the funnest job I've ever had. I got to demonstrate tasers. I get to shock people. That was really fun. You have to get shocked in order to be certified to carry a taser. I got to fire weapons. I drove a squad car for 5 years. That was pretty cool. And demonstrated equipment for different departments. After that time, or while I was there, I met a person down in Woodbury who had a law enforcement reflective clothing business. That he was a manufacturer, and he was ready to retire. He asked if I would come on board and buy out his company, which I agreed to do. And at the end of our first year, through another relationship I had at Keepers, we sold that company to Berkshire Hathaway. So that was a good day. We had fun. But I did put myself out of a job within a year. So I came home the very next day by chance. I met with my Northwestern Mutual financial advisor, and we were reviewing some things, and he asked me what I was going to do. And I said, I don't know. I just really want to get back to St. Cloud. And, I have some time to figure out what I want out of life. And he said, you know what? I think you'd be perfect for working with business owners. You have the financial experience. You get it. And your personality, I think, would be such that people would enjoy you. So I went and looked at a couple different things and ended up going to work for Northwestern Mutual. It's been about 6 years ago now. And I've worked just with executives and business owners and helped them with their financial planning. So after 12 years, we have 3 children. Our oldest is 12. I have an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. My wife, Erin, decided to go back to work this year at Cathedral. She's a Spanish teacher there. And our younger two children, or our oldest is at Cathedral. He's a 7th grader at 12. And then our 2 younger kids are at the lab school in St. Joseph. When we're not working, you'll find me coaching. I do a lot of baseball stuff and cheering all our kids on in their various events. I participate in a couple boards and hanging out. We have a family cabin on Little Birch Lake. My folks are heading to Arizona with the Adamax this winter, so we're excited to mooch off that. So, what months are you going again? I might show up when you're there. So,
October.
Yeah. Probably the favorite thing we do on a weekly basis, we still do the big Italian dinners, and we rotate houses. So I host, and my 2 sisters host, and we just rotate around and sit around and talk smart. That's really all I have, except for one final story. I'm very proud of being only a quarter Italian. I like to pretend I'm a full Italian, but that, it doesn't work. But we did find out, my grandparents passed away last year on my mom's side. When they were cleaning out her house, they found a box in the rafters in the basement. And in that box was 4 generations of family records. And so they quickly learned, and they did not know this, that both grandparents were 100% Irish. So I'm drunk, actually, right now. So we got a lot to catch up on. Thanks for the time.